Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar. Today I'm joined with Richard Maddocks and he's going to be talking around how to boost your energy in work and life. So in a moment I'm going to pass over to Richard, but before I do, I'd just like to let everyone know that we will be having an interactive poll session. So I'm going to drop a link into the chat bar for everyone to use. So obviously it will just take you onto a web browser where you can answer Richard's polls. And at the end of the webinar, we'll have a Q&A section. So if you do have any questions throughout Richard's presentation, please type them into the chat bar or question function, and we hopefully get time to answer them all at the end. So without further ado, I'll pass over to Richard.
Thank you, Paul. And yeah, don't know who's out there, how many, wherever you are, but wherever you are and whoever you are, hi. Welcome to, well, my man cave, I would say. Actually, it's a man cave that's being renovated at the moment, which I didn't realize was going to be happening this week. So I'm tucked away in a corner here of my desk, trying to get away from the sun that's coming through because there's no curtains up on the windows. But anyway, hopefully that will be avoided. And what you're seeing up on the screen here is, this is the way I always introduce myself, whether I'm presenting to a board or CEOs, C-level people in companies, or whether I'm on webinars and so forth, because these are the most important things in my life, as it were. Firstly, my family, it's my raison d'etre. What you see here amongst all the people there is my 4 kids and their partners and my 7 grandchildren in between times, and my partner, Christina. So that's really my most important value, and I say the reason I do everything in life really is to serve them. And then the 3 pictures below, you kind of see my passion for sports and speed. I'm a bit of an adrenaline freak. Through my years, my 66 years, I've played virtually every sport you can think of, most of them to a reasonably high level and very intensely. Unfortunately, that's left me in the situation where I don't have any knees left. Well, kind of. I can still play golf with a knee brace, and cycling's good and so forth. But anyway, I'm full of energy, and I'm full of energy for life, as it were. But that's enough about me, because we're not here to talk about me today. What I'm here to do is, and if you like, my mission today is to give you tips and ideas as to how you can boost your personal energy. And also, you know, if you like, I often say it's about owning your energy, how you can own your energy, not just whilst working from home, it's about in all times, but these really somewhat surreal times, I think it's so important to really understand how you can manage your energy and keep it up to high levels, because keeping your energy at high levels is challenging all the time, certainly, as I say, in these very interesting times. So I'm going to give you some tips as to how to do that. And they come from a book that I wrote recently. In fact, it got published back end of last year, called The Energy Book. And what I'm going to do today is walk you through a few of the boosters, as I call them, the energy boosters. And at least that'll give you a flavor for what's in the book. But hopefully might encourage you to go and buy it. But also, everything I'm giving you here today are really valuable tips to try and understand how you can, say, manage and boost your energy. So let's look at a brief agenda here. I'm going to introduce you to the concept, what is personal energy? Why is it so important? And then, as I just mentioned, give you some tips on boosting your own energy. And just at the end, a couple of tips as to how you can boost your colleagues' energy as well. So let's look at personal energy. But before I do that, I want to launch straight in with a question. And that is, what is your overall energy level at this very moment? So on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is high, you should have had a link from Paul to be able to go to a website. And I've just activated this poll. And so if you go to this polev.com/rmaddocks232 and enter your current score, how much energy have you got at the moment on a scale of 1 to 10? And I can show you now what's coming through in the figures as people are typing in their energy scores. You see some people down on the low side, a couple of people up on the high side. What's sort of like interesting picture. Might of course depend where you are at this moment in terms of the time of day for you. And also, of course, what you're actually doing at the moment or what you've done already today. So it's the picture is quite interesting because you can see sort of 50 plus percent, good 50 plus, 60% of people saying that they're 6 plus, still pretty low to be honest. But having said that, that's all the more reason why we're here today, for me to give you some tips and encourage you to manage your energy level and keep it boosted. So I'll leave this poll open for a while, and I'll also send you the results later. It's all anonymous. Any polls I do are always anonymous, but so feel free if you haven't entered, you can only enter once, but let's keep going and see what the final picture looks like. And I'll send you the slides later. I'll send Paul a copy of the slides later, and that will be contained in them. So I asked you, what is your energy level at this very moment? Now, why do I do that? Why is energy so important? Well, the basic equation is very, very simple. The more energy that you have, the more things you can do. And that doesn't matter what it is, whether that's work stuff, play stuff, home stuff, whether it's using your brain, whether it's using physical energy. The more energy you have a higher chance of working towards what you want to get done. And in that sense, it's also, if you like, whatever your definition of success, working towards achieving that success. So personal energy is so important for everything we do in life. But what is it? I say give yourself a score of what's the quantity or how much personal energy have you got at the moment? But when I ask that question, most people think about the physical stuff. So what's the quantity of energy I've got physically to get things physical done, or how alive do I feel? Some people think about the mental energy, and in the sense of how good am I using at this moment this powerful instrument between my ears? How good am I at focusing, clear thinking, and so forth? And you'd both be right, whether you're thinking about personal energy or mental energy, because they are two of the actual 4 types of personal energy. And let me show you the total picture here. This is, as you can see, physical energy is there, mental energy, but also emotional and purpose energy. These 4 types of energy, they sum up, if you will, when they are summed up, they give you your total feeling of how much personal energy you have. Now, we usually draw the picture like this in terms of the pyramid and in this sequence. It's important to understand that physical energy, they're all equally important, by the way. All 4 energy types are equally important, but we build our energy from the base up. Now, if you don't have a solid physical base, the other 3 energy types on top are going to be potentially unstable, if you're a little bit wobbly. So it's really key to make sure you've got a good, reasonably good physical base. It's also important to understand that these 4 types are constantly interacting with each other, and they affect each other. For example, you might be bursting with physical energy, it could be really high, but if for some reason your emotional energy is low, you won't feel that energetic. So the sum of how these, how that adds up, if you will, and how they interact with each other is really, really key. I don't have the time today to go into great detail on this subject, but this is really enough for you to understand at the moment about the 4 types, and that all 4 types you need to work on to keep boosting them, keep maintaining them. But let me get into a little bit of how you can use this understanding to boost your own energy. One of the key concepts of personal energy, really important to understand, is personal energy is renewable. But it doesn't just happen by chance. If you take a smartphone, for example, if you just keep using it and you don't recharge it, it doesn't recharge itself. You specifically plug it in somewhere or drop it onto something, a recharging machine, whatever it is, and it gives you more energy back into the phone. Well, it's exactly the same with energy renewal. You need to do specific things to renew your energy across the 4 types. Sometimes you focus on one or two types at the same time, but all four types need to be renewed. And you do this. I imagine most of you get some sleep, usually at night times, although I've heard quite a few people in these COVID-19 lockdown situation taking more power naps than they used to during the day. But when you sleep, you make that conscious decision. I'm going to get some sleep now. Whatever, whether you're tired or not, you understand the importance of that. And hopefully you wake up feeling refreshed in some way, shape, or form. And that's what happens. Your energy, or different types of energy, get renewed during your sleep. But you need to be not sleeping during the day, but doing different things during the day to keep this renewal process going. Let me explain a little bit more. Sorry. Here we go. Energy zones. We all spend time in different energy zones during every day of the week, whether we're working or not working. But let's focus on the working environment, if you will. So this energy zone matrix is made up of the two axes, as you can see. On the left-hand side, we've got the quantity of energy, and on the bottom axis, we've got the quality, if you will, of your energy, whether it's mainly negative or whether it's mainly positive. In terms of your feelings, the way you're feeling about yourself and life and what you're doing at that moment. Now, during the working day, most people will spend a lot of time in the performance and the survival zones, the top two. A little bit of time in the overwhelmed zone, and unfortunately, not an awful lot in the renewal zone. And so what's happening is you're using up a lot of energy. In the performance zone, you're feeling good, you're, between quotes, often in the flow. In the survival zone, there you're often doing things that you feel you must do, or things that have been pushed upon you, or you're sitting in meetings or in calls these days that you'd rather not be in, waste of time, or whatever it be. But it's costing you a lot more energy when you're in the survival zone than even when you're in the performance zone, because there are things going on in your emotions, with the mental energy, that are burning up lots of energy. So the key to understanding renewal is you need to take breaks. You need to push yourself, as I was just saying, not just at sleep times, but during the day, not just working days, I'd say 7 days a week. Spend more time in the renewal zone. Conscious decision. So how do you do that? Well, really simply, you take breaks. Now, I know quite a lot of people, particularly high-powered executives and people that are sort of like feel that you've got to be busy every single second of the day, otherwise you're a wimp. It's really not true. Breaks are not for wimps. No, breaks are for high performers. Because when you take a break, and here you can see that it says taking a break every 90 minutes, that's a minimum. Every 90 minutes, and when you're working from home, as I'll explain later, should be every 60 minutes. So you take a break, and not just a 30-second run to the coffee machine or whatever and grab a cup of coffee and back. No, you take a break of at least a couple of minutes, and preferably somewhere between 5 and 15 minutes. And when you do that, you can see the figures here. These are not figures I've just made up. This is fact, not fiction. Your creativity increases, your well-being increases, and you're much better able to use this fantastic brain of yours. So breaks are really, really important. And what do you do in these breaks? Well, all sorts of things. Now, I'm not going to walk through these slides, each of these ideas individually. These are some out of the book, and there are many more there. But the typical things you do, I'll tell you what I love to do. I'll just have to take my glasses off for a moment, but I've always got 3 juggling balls here, and I'm a pretty reasonable 3-ball juggler. I do that for a couple of minutes. Or I don't know if you've seen, but behind me here there's a couple of guitars. I pick up a guitar, but I'll go and run up and down the stairs. I'll go outside, get some fresh air, whatever it be. Take a break. And it does mean a break. It doesn't mean like calling a colleague and then talking about work. Yeah, call a colleague, but then have some fun conversation or totally unwork related stuff. So breaks and doing things in the breaks is really key. And it's also important, if you don't plan these things, they don't happen. If you just say, oh yeah, Richard had a good idea, I'll take a break. And I'm going to take breaks during my day. I guarantee you that won't happen. But you need to specifically do it. Make conscious efforts. And I'm sure you're all aware that if you want to create a good habit, you kind of have to make a ritual. So you force yourself to do things, build some form of routine in. So use your smartphone. Set your smartphone for somewhere between 60 and 90 minutes and keep resetting it to remind yourself during at least the working days to take breaks. And then I'd say, make a list. What are some of the favorite things you like to do? And like I said, I've got like about 30, 40, more than 30 actually, things I like to do. And in any one day, I'll just say, oh, right, I think I'll do these 4 or 5 things today in my breaks. When you do that, there's a big chance of these things happening. And I guarantee you'll quickly feel the benefits of doing this. So when you get these slides, I'm sorry, I keep going backwards over the slides, I'm not meaning to, but I'm moving on to the next slide. When you get a copy of the slides, not now, but I'd like you to look at these 3 questions as well. And then, like I just said, make a list of which renewal break ideas you're going to build in to your daily routines, or at least make a list of your favorite things. So that's about renewal. It's really, really important to understand. It's important to understand the 4 types of personal energy: the mental, the physical, the emotional, and also the the purpose energy. Let me just briefly explain, by the way, what those 4 things are. The physical energy, that refers to the quantity of energy you feel. The emotional energy refers to the quality of the way you feel the energy. Mental energy, it is all about how good are you at thinking clearly, at focusing, at concentrating, at avoiding distractions, and so forth. And purpose energy is a little bit different than the other 4. Purpose energy determines the impact, the power, if you like, that you have with the other 3 energy types. When you have purpose, whether that's the life purpose, or whether that's a purpose in the actual minute of why you're actually doing something, when there is more purpose and purpose energy, it gives much more impact, or allows you to have much more impact with the other 3 types of energy. So that's the importance of renewal, and to understand that if you want to be a high performer, please, please, please take more breaks and really consciously think about how you renew your energy. Just have a little sip of this. It's pure water, by the way, not some wine vessel disguised as a water bottle. Anyway, I want to now give you more specific tips, and I'm going to give you a couple of tips relating to physical energy, and these again are more boosters from the book. So as I just said, physical energy relates to the quantity of energy you feel. And when we're looking at physical energy, then there are really 3 main areas that we focus on. It's nutrition, it's exercise, and it's about sleep relaxation. Now, the 2 boosters I'm going to talk you through now are both related to nutrition. The book covers lots more about nutrition and also exercise and relaxation and sleep and so forth. But let's have a look at 2 of them relating to nutrition. Booster number 11 is called Eating Like a Baby. And I don't mean like this being spoon-fed. I'll explain what I mean in a moment. And booster 13 is called Drink Like a Fish. Now let's focus on the eating. How does baby eat? Well, any of you who've got children, had seen them go through the baby phase or lived through that baby phase, and those of you that haven't, I'm sure you've seen how babies go throughout their day. They eat very frequently. They eat small amounts, and they eat every 2 to 3 hours, including, unfortunately, at night times until they settle down. Now, I'm not suggesting you should wake up in the middle of the night and be eating like a baby. What I am suggesting is that you eat multiple times throughout the day and small amounts. So how do we start that? Well, we start when we get up. We start with breakfast. And just like I said, breaks are for high performers and not for wimps. Eating breakfast is for high performers and not just for wimps. I know a lot of people that skip breakfast or grab a cup of coffee or something as they run out of the door or whatever before they start work. And it's really not good. You can't start the Ferrari with no fuel in the tank. Why is it called breakfast? It's because you're breaking the fast. Your body hasn't had any intake for a good number of hours while you've been sleeping, and probably for a short while before that as well. And it needs something to get going. And so starting off with a breakfast, and then often the next time people eat is lunchtime. Again, some people skip that. But what I'm suggesting to you is you have your breakfast and you have lunch a few hours later. But in between times, kind of like 2-3 hours after your breakfast, you have what I call a strategic snack. And that's eating something like a bit of fruit, with some healthy sugar, preferably. Bad sugars are okay too. They give you that boost, but preferably healthy sugar, a bit of fruit, dried, fresh, whatever. And then you combine that with a piece of protein, like some cheese, some nuts, or whatever kind of protein, or some carbo. So preferably healthy sugar and protein, or if not, healthy sugar and carbo, whatever it be. But this combination, if you just eat a piece of fruit, great, healthy, but it'll just give you a spike of energy for about 30 minutes for most people. When you combine it with the anchor of the protein or the carbo, then it stretches that for a couple of hours. And what you're doing by saying, like, eating breakfast, eating a strategic snack 2 to 3 hours later, then having lunch a couple of hours after that, you're starting to align the demand for energy from your system with the supply. And that's what we're trying to do when we're eating like a baby. We're trying to, if you like, balance the supply-demand equation. So after lunch, you eat another strategic snack sort of mid-afternoon, then you have dinner, preferably not too late, and preferably not too big. Most people tend to eat a small breakfast, if anything, a bit big of a lunch, and then a bigger dinner. And it's kind of like back to front. The best way to eat is to eat a sizable breakfast, healthy, hopefully, a balanced lunch, again, balance between fruit, veg, and protein, etc., and then a smallish dinner, and not too late. And if you need to, you can eat another strategic snack after that, before you go to bed, a couple of hours before you go to bed. That's what I mean by eating like a baby. Again, just like renewal, taking breaks, you'll start to notice the benefit really quickly if you eat like a baby, eat multiple times during the day, like I just suggested. And then, yeah, drink like a fish. Well, I imagine many of you, if not all of you, be familiar with the expression. In English, drinking like a fish means usually drinking vast quantities of alcohol. I'm not referring to that here. What I'm referring to is that you should be constantly drinking water throughout the day. Why? Well, as you may know, and if not, then this might be an eye-opener for you, your body consists of somewhere between 60% of it at the cellular level of water. So it's a bit of a no-brainer. What your body needs constantly, day in, day out, is a lot of water. The average adult should be drinking a minimum 1.5 liters, and that's for a lightish person, if you will, up to kind of like 2.5 liters of water per day. It's like 8 to 10 medium-sized glasses of water a day. So you should constantly have some, if you like, reminder around, have one of these types of bottles. Okay, you see that? These types of bottles, or anything, preferably not too plasticky, but whenever you pass a water cooler or a tap, refill the bottle, constantly take the opportunity to drink water. And you'll know when your body's dehydrated, and that's kind of like a bit too late, because you get thirsty, your mouth dries up and so forth, which does anyway when I'm talking a lot like this. But also the color of your urine. If it's anything other than a light yellow color, or sort of light lemon color, then I can assure you your body is saying, hey, give me more water. And unfortunately, coffee doesn't count, and nor does tea. Yeah, that adds a bit of water, but anything with the caffeine in it, certainly like coffee and tea, unless they're decaf, they tend to dehydrate the body. So you get the a double whammy, if you will. You need even more water then. So please eat like a baby, drink like a fish. You will never look back. You will feel so much more physical energy. And that's just from doing these two simple things. So let's move on. And what I want to move on to now is to give you a little bit of a booster with the emotional energy. As I said earlier, all four types of energy are equally important. I don't have time to give you boosters on everything today, so I'm giving you two on physical, and I'm going to give you two now extra on emotional energy. I wanted to focus on emotional energy because it's the energy level that's really being impacted the most during these very strange times we've been experiencing, and I think we'll probably carry on experiencing for some time. You know, in lockdown times and in this coronavirus, COVID-19 experience that people are having, emotional energy has been pounded from all sides. And so keeping, if you like, that emotional energy high is an extra challenge in these times. So I wanted to pick that out for you and give you some ideas there. I mentioned briefly earlier that emotional energy, it's relating to the quality of your energy. And it's all about the positive and negative emotions. It's really key to understand, I mentioned earlier, but I'll mention it again today, that emotional energy probably has the most impact in terms of the way you feel about your total energy. I said earlier, your physical energy could be really high, but if your emotional energy is low, then your overall feeling of your total energy levels will be lower than would be indicated by your physical energy. So it's really key to understand how you keep that high. And it's really quite, well, it's simply said, it's not simply done. Because emotional energy is primarily about the quality of your emotions. Are they predominantly positive or predominantly negative? Or you don't even want it 50-50. You want to have mainly, if you want to keep your emotional energy high, mainly positive emotions going on and positive thoughts and so forth. And yeah, of course, negative thoughts creep in and you have to deal with them. And again, I don't have time to cover all the wonderful ways and simple ways you can do this today, but I will give you a couple of tips. So positive emotions, of course, you'll understand that they really increase your emotional energy, they increase your happy feeling, and they help you to be more successful, whatever your definition of success is. And negative emotions have the opposite effect, as I'm sure you can imagine. And by the way, again, this is fact, not fiction. Happy people live longer. So many surveys have been done on this subject, and it's just a fact. In some cases, they live a lot longer. So it's good to understand for yourself, how do you do this? It's also important to understand that when we're talking about emotional energy, stress comes into the picture. Now, you might not know this, but there are actually two types of stress. When people talk or use the word stress or think about stress, they're usually thinking about it or using it in a negative way, in the distress form. And distress is, that is bad stress. It drains your energy. But the eustress, which I'm reliably informed, that it comes from the Greek word meaning good stress, that's positive. It increases your energy. When you're between quotes in the flow, there's normally lots of eustress going on. It's motivating and so forth. So it's key to understand emotional energy is highly impacted by your emotions, positive or negative, and by the amount of stress you feel, whether it's eustress or distress. I'm going to talk to you about something that it's so easy. It sounds so simple, and you think, did that really have a real big effect, big impact on my emotional energy, Richard? Yes, it can. And what it is, it's about starting your day in the perfect way. I call it often kickstart your day or waking up, whatever. I don't know how you wake up, but people tend, some people wake up like a coiled spring, ready for action, just open their eyes and bluff. Children have that often because It's so wonderful to observe children the way they are, usually when they're past the baby stage, not screaming for food. But anyway, some people wake up like a cold spring, ready for action. Some people have to drag themselves out from under the sheets to get going. And most people, I guess, are somewhere in between those two. What I want you to do to help you to move towards more of the coiled spring, if you will, is to start your day in a positive way before you get out of bed. As you're starting to wake up and you're getting cognitive thoughts, I want you to start planting positive seeds into your brain. Positive seeds about your day. What's it going to be like? It's going to be great. I do this every single day. And, I say things like to myself, hey, Richard, today is going to be an absolutely brilliant day. And it's just as well, because it's the only day you've got. Yesterday's gone. I'm expected to wake up tomorrow, but I'm not there yet. So today's all I've got. It's kind of like the most important day of my life. And I have this conversation with myself every morning. Other times I'll add to that and say, today, there's so many things on. I'm going to give absolutely everything, the absolute best I've got. Other things I'll say is like, I'm going to let nothing irritate me or frustrate me today. Whatever happens, whatever things, the changes in the plan that always happen, or whatever somebody starts to could normally irritate or frustrate me, or something happens, I'm not going to allow it today. And those thoughts that I plant at the beginning of the day before I get out of bed, they enable me to use them as anchors, if you will. I keep coming back to them. So if I start to get a negative thought, I think, hey, Richard, wasn't this the most important day of your life? Why are you looking like, hey, man, it might be the only day you've got. Or if I start to get frustrated, I think, hey, that wasn't the deal. You made the deal. You weren't going to get frustrated or irritated today. And when you do this for a little while, it kind of becomes much more routine, becomes a real good habit. So these are simple things to do. I guarantee you it works. I said all the fantastic feedback I've had from since the book was published, and so many people say, I use this, I use this, I use this. The most positive feedback I think I've had is from this particular booster. People saying it's unbelievable how well and how powerful this works. So kickstart your day every day, starting tomorrow as you start to wake up. I'm going to give you another booster of an emotional energy, and it's relating to these current times we're in. As I said, in these times, the coronavirus period that we're in, and lockdown and uncertainty and so forth, it's the area of emotional energy that's being impacted the heaviest, and it's really understandable why. So quite a lot of people have asked me this question, hey, Richard, you know a lot about energy. Why am I feeling less energetic? I'm not even doing as much as I used to, and I'm not traveling and I'm not doing that. So why is that? Well, if you bear in mind what I've just told you about mental energy that's relating to positive or to emotions, positive and negative, and stress and so forth, and then take a look at this list, small list of points, which I could have added to quite a lot. And let's just briefly walk through a couple of them. Uncertainty. Is that a positive or negative emotion? And there's a lot of uncertainty going on and still going on and has been, say, for some months now. Well, uncertainty in general is a negative emotion. So it's going to impact your emotional energy in a negative way. Anxiety, stress, distress, always a negative effect on your energy. Boredom. This feeling of being locked up, literally we use this word, but locked up. We're taking away our freedom. We're doing things again and again. Doesn't seem to be so much fun. Negative energy. Video calls that people, using MS Teams and Zooms and every other product you can think of, they actually consume a lot more energy than a face-to-face meeting or a phone call. Because what's happening with a video call is you kind of like, you see each other. So we see each other and it's kind of like, well, we're physically together, but you're not. But you are mentally together. And in the background processing that's going on in your brain, there's this energy being lost where the brain is constantly trying to reconcile this difference. We look like we're together, but we're not, and yet mentally we are, and you don't know that's going on, but it takes up a lot of energy. So all sorts of reasons, the fact that we're having very few social interactions, people not hugging and touching each other, and not, say, having fun. And I'm going to talk to you in a moment about foreplay, and this, I'm not referring here to the way the word is most commonly used in terms of sexual encounters and so on, but I'm talking about anticipation. I'm talking about anticipating, looking forward to something. For example, I was really looking forward to going to see my dad. I haven't seen my dad for a couple of years, and he lives in northern France, and he's turned 93 recently. And my brother and I had planned a trip to go to France and with our families and so forth. And yeah, we've been looking forward to it for months, and looking forward to it, that already gives a lot of positive energy. But it got cancelled. The same as the Eric Clapton concert. I was looking forward to seeing him in Amsterdam in June time, got cancelled. We cancelled our holidays, cancelled the motorbike GP races, that got cancelled. So all of these things, they got cancelled, but I was actually had been using them for months to boost my emotional energy, because that's what anticipation does. Anticipation, when you've got something in your diary that you're looking forward to, and you're looking forward to it in the sense of, this is going to be really good, and you start imagining it. It might be very different when it actually happens, but that anticipation about future events that are in your diary, as it were, they really give you emotional energy boost, almost as much as the actual real thing. So not only have we had less of those in our diaries, we've also had the things that were there sort of cut out. So it's like, again, a double whammy in terms of its effect on your emotional energy. So what you need to do is to create more foreplay. It's very important. Start planning things, even if they're just small things. Christina and I, we love cycling, and so we never used to plan going cycling. We just say, hey, let's say it's sunny, and we're dry weather cyclists, by the way, also motorbikers. But you just say, no, we just grab the bikes and go. But now we actually plan it, and we sort of plan, tomorrow we're going to go for a cycle ride. What time should we go? And where should we go? And we never used to do that, but now when we do, we start looking forward to it already and getting foreplay out of it. We're planning things for the medium term. We're planning things for the long term. We're not sure whether they're going to go ahead, but we can already start enjoying them, if you will. So my extra tip on emotional energy is to have more foreplay. Now, one more poll, and I need just to quickly go out of the slide share to set up the next poll for you. So you'll see that going on. But let me just see here what I'm going to do. I'm not very technical, and I'm conscious I don't want to run out of time here. So let me just see if I can do this in such a way that you can get there. You should now be able to see this slide. Or sorry, if you go to this paulev.com again, you should be able to there start giving a text response. I'm just checking in if I can actually see that as well. Can somebody let me know if you're, yes, I can see it is activated. So you should be able.
It's all activated, Richard, so people will start answering the question.
Thank you, Paul.
No problem.
So please enter your text response. You can enter as many text responses as you like, but what are you looking forward to as lockdown hopefully continues to ease off? What are the things that you can really start getting that extra emotional energy from the anticipation, from living the event before it happens, as it were? So try and write some of those down. And the reason I'm asking you to do this is for yourself, but also, again, it's all anonymous, so don't worry about what you put in there. But I'll also be sharing the total list with Paul, and he can pass that on to you, which also might stimulate some of your thinking. So we should be able to see some results coming through here. There's all sorts of things coming up here, a lot of the traveling and social activities together. and just trying to meet up people, with people. Even if we can't hug, at least meet. And so many things like that. Oh yeah, somebody wanted to get to Australia. I guess they're not there at the moment, and that's going to maybe be quite a while away. But excuse me, I will keep this poll up. So, and I'll keep it open right till the end of the presentation, so you can keep adding to it as we go through. So please remember, more foreplay. Put things in their diary. It doesn't matter how small they are, but for the short, the medium, the long term, even if they're uncertain, but start looking forward to them, start living them already. You will increase your emotional energy. Now, let me try and move on here. So I promised you I wanted to give you a tip about boosting the energy of your colleagues. And, just like the one I talked about earlier in terms of the waking up, kickstart your day. It sounds so simple. The one I'm about to share with you now, again, sounds so simple that people kind of like don't even think about it or aren't aware of it. And it's all about giving compliments. Yeah, I'm sure you understand because you get compliments, I imagine, and hope for you from time to time. But when you get a compliment, it makes you feel good. If it's genuine and sincere. If it's not genuine and sincere, then it has a negative effect. So you only always want to give genuine and sincere compliments. And compliments about if you like, your hair, the clothes you're wearing, whatever, they're good to have. But really, the compliments that have the most power are the ones when if you're like complimenting somebody's actions, something they did, or the character, or the qualities, whatever it be. And those have huge effect on the other person. They really do boost the other person. So please give a lot of compliments, but understand also that when you give a compliment, it also boosts your energy. It boosts your energy. It gives you a feel-good boost, if you will. So it has a real double effect on both the other person and on your own emotional energy. And it helps hugely in building stronger and better relationships. But anyway, understand this is a simple way you can give compliments. And I say, try and give at least 5 a day, not to the same person, and even in these times when we're not meeting, we're not together, you can do that through emails, through WhatsApp, through phone calls, etc. Well, that's getting to the end now. A couple of things I just want to briefly mention. And yeah, this one slide in particular, understand that nothing changes till something changes. So if you want to improve all of your tomorrows, understand what you're going to do differently to have more impact. There's also an extra resource. Again, you'll see this in the slide, so you don't have to write it down, but theenergybook.com, the-energybook.com, there's a number of things there that can help you further. If you click on this tab called Energy Resources, you'll see a number of things there. I'm suggesting these 2 that you could use. And they're just simple instruments and tools to help you understand your energy picture, particularly the energy profiler. I would highly recommend you follow that. And yeah, maybe buy and read the book, of course. And if you want to have contact with me, there's my contact details. Again, you'll see them in the slide. And if you do want to buy the book, this is how you can buy it. It's available on every Amazon site around the world, I'm told. This is the publisher. You can also order it there, Lid Publishing. It's also recently been translated into Dutch. So I'm not sure there's that many people out there on this call that might be interested in that, but certainly where I live here in Holland. So that's it from me. I'm going to hand back to Paul now, and hopefully there's a little bit of time left to answer some questions. So Paul, over to you, my friend.
Thanks, Richard. That was fantastic and obviously very insightful. I've personally taken a lot of notes on my side and going to put them into action to help myself and my energy. So we've had some questions come in. So for everyone who does have a question, please type them into the question tab. Hopefully we get a chance to answer them all, but Richard has kindly agreed that any unanswered questions will be passed on to him and he'll get in touch with everyone. So I'll get into the first question. So what is the difference between mental and emotional energy?
So yeah, it's a good question indeed. Thank you for that. And as most people understand, if not all, emotions are basically thoughts. They come from thoughts and translate into feelings. But the difference is that when we're talking about mental energy, it's about how good are we at using the powerful instrument between our ears? How good are we at focusing? How good are we at concentrating? How good are we at applying our mental faculties? And when we're talking about emotional energy, it's about how you can really measure it, if you will. If you were to write down, and I'm not sure, I've never done that, I'm not sure anybody ever has, but if you were to write down all the positive emotions you had during a day, when you felt good about something, when somebody said something to you, when you had a fun thought, and you wrote down all the negative things that you had during the day, then you will find that your emotional energy will be a result of, did you have more positive than negative or emotions, or the other way around? So it's really, yeah, it's relating to the emotions, which also then, as I indicated, talks of directly is correlated with the stress that people feel, the eustress or the distress. That's a very brief answer. I hope that helped.
Thank you. So we've got a question which has come in, which is touching on what you mentioned a moment ago around COVID and obviously change of plans and stuff like that. So the question is, as uncertainty rises, we may need to have a backup plan or option. So how can we handle multiple plans without draining out of energy?
That's a fascinating question. Then thank you for that. And this is one I'll throw out there without having thought about it. And yeah, so I'm not quite sure whether we're talking about contingency life plan or work plans or home and schooling and things like this. And the thing about future planning is it's important to, of course, for many people to have the feeling, secure feeling that, okay, even under all circumstances, I've got a plan. But the thing about the plan is you can make the plan, but then put it aside. What you don't want to do is to keep thinking about that plan, because what you're also then doing is, if you keep thinking about all the things, well, suppose this were to happen, suppose that were to happen, and you don't know what's going to happen. Like me, you're hoping to wake up tomorrow morning. So it's really important that the best message I can give is, yeah, make the plan, but put it to one side in case things happen. But then get back to focusing on living in the now. And there's actually a whole chapter dedicated to that in the book, about some tips and so forth, and method as to how you live more in the now, in the moment, in the day, etc. So make the plan, but then get it out of your head and start living again in the now.
Excellent, thank you. So we've got another question. It's around the personal energy management chart, which you mentioned earlier. So they're asking, how can I evaluate my own energy levels? And is there any apps or software I can use to find this out?
Yes, indeed. There are some apps out there. I personally haven't tried really ones, or had ones that I felt were fantastic and really worked for me. Let me just go back to a slide. I don't know if the slides are still up on the screen, Paul, but I mentioned this website, the-energybook.com. Click on energy resources, and then go to this instrument called the Energy Profiler. I think there's 20 questions in there. And when you answer those 20 questions, it's just tick the box, as it were. You don't have to type in loads of stuff. It's a multiple choice of answering each of the 20 questions. When you've done that and you click Analyze, it will give you your energy profile. It will tell you what your total energy is, in a percentage sense, whether you're 100% energized or somewhere between 0 and 100. And it'll also highlight each of the 4 types. So it will show you percentage of physical, mental, emotional, and purpose energy. So that's a fantastic tool to use that. I highly recommend it. I've been using it, well, my customers have been using it for years. And it's also, in the questions themselves, they actually reveal some of the things you can do then to boost your energy. So you understand what I mean when you actually use the profiler. So please go and use it and reuse it and share it with people. It's a free resource. So share it around the world, as it were.
Thank you, excellent. So we've got quite a few questions coming in now, so hopefully we get time to answer them all. So the next question is, around multitasking, and it's around, is multitasking draining on your energy, and how can we improve energy levels by multitasking?
Oh boy, that's a great one. I mean, and yes, it is hugely, it has a big drain on your energy. And there is, again, there's a chapter dedicated to that in the book, and it's called Stop Switch Tasking. And let me briefly explain. So people talk about multitasking when actually often what they're meaning is switch tasking. So multitasking is when I'm doing different things that actually lead to one single outcome. So like driving a car. Driving a car, we're multitasking, at least hopefully we are. So what we're doing is we're looking at the traffic on the road as we're driving along. We're operating the steering wheel, we're operating pedals and maybe the gear shift. We're looking in the mirrors, hopefully you are. You're doing all sorts of things that are all hopefully getting you from A to B in a safe way. That is multitasking. Switch tasking, which is what we're often doing, for example, is say I was working on the slides for this webinar today, and I'm working on the slides and I might have my email app open, I might have my telephone next to me switched on with all the different apps like WhatsApp and those sorts of things. So I'm working on the presentation, I'm focused, and then I hear a ping on my phone and I'm distracted, and we are all easily distractible. So I get distracted and I look at my phone and, oh, it's one of the grandkids. Oh yeah, no, they're really priority number one. So I get them and go to my phone, I answer them, and I'm just about to go back to the presentation, and then I hear a conversation going on between Christina, my wife, and somebody else that's in the house, and I'm sort of listening into that, and I finally get back to the presentation. I've totally got to rethink about where was I, my train of thought, I've lost it, and it can take me quite a while, quite a number of minutes to get back to it. That is switch tasking. I'm switching between different things going on. What we need to do is focus on single tasking. So if I'm working on this presentation, I close down every other single application, and then I switch off my phone. I don't even have it in the room. I lock myself away. I put on noise canceling headphones, and I'm focused, even if it's just for 20 minutes. You know, I have a block of single tasking time to focus on the particular task at hand. That's a fantastic way to manage your mental energy better, because believe you me, switch tasking and multitasking, it uses a lot more mental energy than single tasking. So multitasking is fine. You know, when you're cooking a meal, when you're driving a car, all those sorts of things, you know, we do that. But it's best then also to concentrate. You know, you don't want to be on the phone when you're driving a car and so forth. Anyway, that's a long answer to the question, but there you go.
Thank you. So another question, can meditation boost your energy, and what is the best time of day to do meditation?
Meditation is a massive booster for your personal energy, and depends on the type of meditation you do, whether you're going to be doing actual physical, you know, involving the body in terms of yoga, and then the other practices related to that. And there are so many different types of meditation. And it's actually a really fantastic book. It's a very thin book, so that appeals to a lot of people. It's also available in audio format, and it's called Meditation in a New York Minute. And it's written by a guy called Mark Thornton, who originally came from the banking industry. I think he was the operational managing director of JP Morgan in London. And anyway, he left that and he researched all the meditation techniques around the world. He did that for a number of years, traveling around the world. And then he wrote this book, and it's got 19 different practices. You don't have to do all 19 of them, by the way. And there's some fantastic ones. But the main thing, most people find it difficult to meditate in terms of really focusing for like somewhere between 10 and 20 minutes in a single block. I find the easiest time of day for me to do that is first thing in the morning and towards the end of the day. And I don't do it every day. I frequently will take 10 minutes first thing in the morning, or 10 minutes at the end of the day, sometimes both. But what I tend to do then is just to reflect on what's happened during the day. That is a form of meditation. But another form of meditation, there's a booster in the book about it. It's called mantra breathing, and that's where you say as you breathe, not as you're walking or not if you're with other people, or when you're on your own, you do some mantra breathing, and it's a really simple technique. You think of two words, one word with two syllables, or two words that really means something to you. And the one I use is total calm. And so I do think as you breathe in, I say the word in my head and total. And as I breathe out, I say calm. Now, breathing through the nose is important. Breathing out either through the nose or through thinly pursed lips is important. That helps the technique. But if you do that a number of times when you're just on your own sometime, and you repeat that for a couple of minutes, it's another form of meditation. There's so many different types, but yes, it definitely helps. Best times of day are normally beginning and towards the end of the day.
Excellent, thank you. So we've had a question come in around COVID. So the question's around what have you seen from the impact of COVID-19 on people's energy levels and the way they now work?
So thank you for that. Indeed, as I referred to during the presentation, there's been a huge impact on people's emotional energy, and therefore and that in a negative way. And therefore, because all these four types are constantly interacting with each other, emotional energy has dragged down the total energy feeling that people have. So I said earlier at the very beginning, I think that working on the physical energy, the base, is really, really key. You've got to keep that up. You've got to have a strong base. So eating like a baby, drinking like a fish, and exercising. Really important to whatever form of exercise, whether it's walking, whether it's intensive exercise, preferably be doing that 3 times a week for at least 20 minutes. Those things help you to have the base, but then work on that emotional energy. It's really, really key because we're all suffering. And I'm no saint. I have to keep practicing this stuff. This is not something to manage your energy levels. So you're busy doing it every single day. Like I said, I kickstart my day every single day. I work on that by waking up, planting positive seeds in my mind. You need to be doing these things. You need to take breaks and renew your energy by doing different things. Like I gave you a list, and there are many more of this to say that you can read about. So really important. COVID is impacting everybody's energy. It's really hitting us mentally as well. Some people are having their purpose energy fit. It's like rethinking, oh, where am I? What am I doing? What is my future? And how can I still make things happen in these times? So all 4 types need to be worked on. But first, make sure physical is strong, and then hit the emotional energy button and work on that.
Excellent. So I think we've got time for one last question. So the question is, what is your view on practicing Pomodoro technique in keeping energy levels high throughout the day?
Yeah, great. I mean, all of these, or most of these different techniques, like you just asked about, somebody asked about meditation, whatever form of meditation you do, whether it's transcendental meditation or this, or combined with yoga, they're perfect. And Pomodoro techniques are great too. There are so many different techniques. What you don't want to do, though, is to take on board too many things at once. If you take on too many things at once, you just get overwhelmed. Kind of like, and you don't do it in the end. Because these types of things, the same with these energy boosters, it's important to integrate them into your day-to-day activities, which is why, as you can still, I think, see up on the screen here, I highly recommend the usage of this free resource on the energybook.com called Rituals. And it's not rituals in terms of black magic, but rituals in terms of creating good habits. So, oh, hello.
Hi, Richard. Yep, I can still hear you. I think
Yep.
we just lost your screen. That's all.
Oh, okay. So I'm still here.
Excellent. So
Okay.
yeah, thank you for answering those questions. That was fantastic. Some great answers there. and obviously some great questions which have come in. Unfortunately, we are out of time, but all the unanswered questions will get passed over to Richard and he'll get in touch. So just before we do go, the recording of this session will be available 1 week from today, and we'll send an email and obviously some information which Richard has mentioned throughout this session. We'll give links to obviously books and the other information which you can see. The next webinar will take place on the 7th of September at 12 to 1 BST. That will be with Lola, who will be talking around owning your career trajectory. So I've added a link into the chat function where you can obviously see the next webinar, and obviously register for that one, and obviously all the other webinars until the end of the year. So lastly, I'd just like to thank you again, Richard, for a great webinar, and obviously thank you for everyone joining, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Thanks for the opportunity, Paul.